Fantastic. So welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about addiction, its treatment, and the future of addiction, I guess. I'm joined at the moment by Kim, who actually I've known for a very long time and helped me get started in the industry, and Jessica. We'll keep this pretty quick fire because we've got an awful lot of stuff to cover. It's quite a broad topic. So if we could start with you, Jessica, just both of you kind of briefly introduce yourselves, and I'll get straight in with the questions for you.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me here today. My name is Jessica. I am working on my master's degree in medical anthropology, where I focus on the paradigm shift of psychedelic assisted therapy and how that's going to impact the ways that we treat addiction. I am also the executive director of the Montreal Psychedelic Society, as well as the research manager at Maya Health.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. And over to you, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Adams, and I'm calling in from Nashville, Tennessee. And I've been working in the psychedelic industry for about 3 years, I guess. I started with helping the Psychedelic Society of San Francisco get going again, and then helped the Decriminalize Nature Oakland legislation get pushed through. I was part of the fundraising committee there, and some sort of the founding members, and also the Sacred Garden community, which kind of founded the Decriminalize Nature organization. And then I also have a platform to help connect people to vetted sources to find ancillary support services around their psychedelic recovery journey.
Fantastic. Thank you both. So, addiction. Just starting with you, Jessica, can you talk the audience through the kind of addictions that we're talking about, from the very severe, obvious addictions to what you might call softer? And as you can see, I'm an addict. So if you just sort of give an indication of the breadth of what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Addiction is a term that's thrown around quite easily, but today, I think I'll be speaking mostly about people who have substance use issues. However, we do have a lot of addictions to a lot of other things, such as television, such as coffee. And the big question is, what is a good addiction and what is a bad addiction? And that often comes up, especially when we're looking at psychedelic substance use as something therapeutic versus recreational or hedonistic.
And do you think that psychedelic compounds have got an application for shopping addiction, chocolate, opiates, smoking? Is it as broad, as the brain can envisage, or are we really just talking about severe substance addictions?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it depends exactly. It depends what we're talking about. For me, my focus of my research is on substance use addictions and the ways that we are currently managing these relationships with substances. So it depends where we want to go today.
Okay, and just over to you, Kim.
Hey, sorry guys, I'm just going to poke in here because I've got Dr. Carlos on the line, so I'm just going to get him to say hi, introduce himself, and if you guys give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you can hear him, okay? Carlos, go for it there.
Hi everyone, sorry for the delay, I'm having technical issues. I'm Dr. Carlos, I'm here in Mexico, and I'm very happy to be part of this process.
Beautiful. It sounds like that's working. So I'm just going to I'm going to come back on when I hear the word Dr. Carlos and then reiterate the question to him. Okay, guys? Sorry.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll get this even quicker because there's three of you now. So Kim, we've got Jeremy Weed from Universal Ibogaine coming on in a second. I think a lot of people in the psychedelic community would associate addiction with Ibogaine. Are there other compounds that have anti-addictive properties?
So I should say that addiction is a human experience. It's not something that there's such a breadth of what we're talking about in terms of, is it interrupting your life? Is it making it really challenging for you to get your life moving? Or do you have a physical dependency, but you're able to function? There's so many different things. And Elizabeth Bast, I love what she says about addiction, that it very much is part of the human spirit, because it can be used as a power of good. You can be addicted to, writing. You can be addicted. You can have that drive. And back, Gabor Mate said in one of his books that addiction 100 years ago is actually defined as passion. And I think that's really something to consider, that psychedelics give you an insight. Treatment, no. They give you an insight, and then you can look at something differently and change your perspective. So if you truly can't not go shopping, if you're really truly addicted to it and you can't get the rest of your life done, then yeah, maybe you need some assistance and insight. But in terms of ibogaine, it does have the ability to reset the opioid receptors. And Dr. Carlos can definitely speak to that, because he's brilliant there, and he has an ibogaine aftercare clinic. But I personally went through alcohol addiction, and I recovered through the use of ayahuasca. So it was because of the insights that I had through that I truly recovered. So it didn't change my physical needs, but it changed my mental awareness.
Fantastic, thank you. So Dr. Carlos, if you could pick up on that point and just talk to us about the insights that psychedelics can give people generally, which can help them overcome addiction, and perhaps the specific properties of ibogaine as an anti-addiction treatment.
I heard
Perfect. You heard it? Cool.
Yeah. So I think that we need to understand that ibogaine is one part of the treatment, and that we cannot just set all the belief and all the projection that only the plant will do the work. I think that's what we do here at the clinic. We have multiple other forms of supporting the process for the participant to engage with their capacity to understand themselves. And we, rather than focusing on addiction itself, self-awareness and capacity to, through the experience of ayahuasca or through the experience of the ibogaine, have a deeper understanding of their self. And this is then integrated into a psychotherapeutic approach. And at the same time, before we give the use of any of the sacred plants, we first try to understand where their neurotransmission is. How can we support the brain by nurturing its requirements from the abuse that it's been exposed to? And through this process, we have more capacity to give resources for the transformation, not only for the insight that is revealed during the actual experience, but then how do you integrate it, and then how do you make the shifts that have to do more with life habits and with realigning your direction.
Could I just press you on this, because I think a lot of people will be fascinated by the answer. Does ibogaine have specific properties in addition to the insights that psychedelics will give people more generally? Does it have a physical property? Does it affect the brain in a specific way? Because for a lot of people, it is the one compound that's directly associated with addiction treatment. And I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on the properties of ibogaine.
So what we have seen in our experience is with heroin addiction, it definitely diminishes the days of the withdrawal symptoms, and it has a huge effect on the physical elements of addiction. While some conditions do have an element of realization or revelation through the actual psychedelic experience, not all of them do, but all of them definitely diminish their symptoms of withdrawal, which that in itself is a huge tool, because then we can work with them through the psychotherapeutic approach of the everyday therapy and through other combined treatments, because their period of withdrawal has shrunk to 2 or 3 days. So that in itself, I think, has an enormous value. But
fantastic.
We don't see the same, for example, for benzodiazepine patients. No, it's very specific for opiates.
Fantastic, thank you. And Jessica, I know that you've studied the sort of classic 12-step addiction program. That's quite a lengthy, very involved, very sort of focused on getting the patient to take responsibility personally for what's going on. Do you see the view that psychedelics are some sort of panacea for addiction as misplaced, and in fact they should be used as part of a lengthy treatment process? Are they just an enabler, in other words, a tool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think one thing that psychedelic assisted therapy has in common with the 12-step program is that it's not just based on one experience, and that it's based on continuous work that needs to be done, just like Dr. Carlos explained. The integration, and Kim also alluded to, the integration sessions is very important and integral to the quote-unquote healing and treatment of addiction. However, when we start looking at other compounds such as ketamine, for instance, which is the current legal psychedelic in North America, we can get into issues of people getting dependent on ketamine as well if it is not held in a safe container. So that's why conversations like this are really important to have in order to provide proper education on why we're using these substances and how we're using it, and what needs to come with those experiences as well, which is long-term work similar to the 12 steps. There's a lot of work that goes into extracting meaning and those insights that we receive from a psychedelic experience.
Thank you. And Kim, I know that you're developing all sorts of technology to help people get access to treatments and match patients with. How easy is it in, say, the US and Canada currently to get any form of psychedelic addiction treatments, and what is needed to broaden that patient access?
Well, what's needed is it's a big question and big answer. But currently in North America, like Jessica said, ketamine is available for drug-resistant depression, which is oftentimes, I think people forget that addiction is actually a symptom of something else, which depression, anxiety, they're medicating themselves. I medicated myself. We're aware of this path. It's just recognizing that it's not one thing. And so ketamine is available. It is something that can give relief because it's a dissociative. And so it lets you sit beside your problems for a moment, basically, is the best way to describe it. In terms of ibogaine and ayahuasca, psilocybin, we know from our previous presenters that they are pushing forward in a lot of ways to access both ketamine in more places, and also psilocybin. Ayahuasca will still remain likely illegal in the United States for probably many years to come. It is it's volatile in that it's two different plants, but variants of plants. So it is legal in Mexico. It is legal in some Caribbean areas. It was
legal in Canada, actually. Up until really recently, it was legal here in Canada. We had clinics, and now it's in like this gray zone. I'm not exactly sure where it stands here in Canada.
I was going to say it was Schedule 6 in Canada.
Sorry, guys. I think Dr. Carlos has something there.
Also in Mexico, it's a bit of a gray zone. It's not legal. There is a gray zone around it.
And just to flow the conversation through to Mexico, Dr. Carlos, why do you think Mexico has been such a leading country in the development of these clinics and the treatments? What has allowed that to take place in Mexico?
So I think there are two answers to that. One is because of the gray areas of our legal system. And the second one is because we do have a tradition of use of psychedelic plants in many of our cultures, of our rooted indigenous cultures.